Welcome to more Gran Turismo Sports Specialtatin. Today we have the FIA Nations Cup race with Toyota 86 GT Group 4s around Brands Hatch GP. And well, the last Specialtatin I did was short because short track. This is not necessarily a long track, but the FIA races are long in general. So hopefully this will make up for that. And to make it even more special, because this is a FIA race and this is how they do it in the game, I'll just do it here too. And that is a rapid racer rundown. To start off with just minor stuff, if the driver has like their actual like name on the car, I'll just do the name. If not, I'll try my best to make it creative. To start off, we have PT Slowpoke. Better not be PT Cruiser, those are awesome. The generic joke about someone being terrible because it's actually that person, but I'm not going to do that because it's Christmas in the race. Some anime I don't know. Another anime I don't know, so I guess I'll just read the name to be nice. Evil Lens. I don't know who Lens is either. Oh, great. A drunk Brazilian. This is gonna be fun. Well, actually, for the people behind me, it'll be fun. Generic, not as fun. Generic, not as fun. Generic, not as fun. Guess what? Another generic. And la-di-da, what do we have here? Yet another generic paint job. Maybe this wasn't the best idea. Maybe going over every car in the race can get a little bit repetitive after a few races. Maybe, just maybe. It's good to go over the cars as an option, maybe. And you can do it like before the race while you have that downtime where nothing's really going on anyway. It's just sort of a useless downtime in general. But it shouldn't be required for everyone to watch it every time. Maybe, just maybe. Especially when the cars are so cotton picking spaced out, you can't exactly do it rapidly. And especially when over half the field is in generically painted cars. Where in the blue blazes are the rest of them? Why are they so spaced out? This is a bad idea, isn't it? Rapid racer rundowns don't exactly work unless they're, well, good. They shouldn't be forced. But yay, something different. We have... I don't even know how to explain it, so I'll just read the name. Frederick O Gamer 577. No comments. And I'm gonna guess another generic. That's how the trend has gone. I'm not wrong. Yep, going through the field every race is not exactly the best idea, PD. While there's downtime anyway, just allow it to be a thing there that's an option instead of forced. But anyway, classic nostalgia from the chin, classic nostalgia. And I think this is actually the last one. But I don't even really know how to make a good thing for. What we've learned today is going through every car in the field shouldn't be forced. Now to the actual race, folks. Now to the actual race. This race, as I said, Toyota GT86 Group 4 cars around Brands Hatch GP, so they're not the fastest, but they ain't bad. So anyway, I got second place in the qualifying. Did like a 129.6, I think, in qualifying. My best for like the pre-race or whatever, like doing it on your own was like a 4 or something, so I can't really complain too much. I pretty much got to my max. Where it doesn't show the times before, I don't know what the leader did before, but I think the leader's lap in qualifying was 29.4, so realistically, even if I ran my absolute best, I'd still only a 50-50 if I would have got the pole. But whatever, 10 lap race, so it wouldn't have made a big difference either way, first or second, because, well, draft is a thing. Where all these cars are equal, draft is really important here, and well, I'm already all over the leader's back bumper from said draft. So, well, this is actually going pretty been good. Do you see how early it braked there? I could literally do nothing about that. Yeah, that kind of looked bad, but if y'all know the braking points for that track, for this track, whatever, that ain't there. The braking point is not where that driver braked. So that's not exactly my fault, and even the leader's messing up now, the new leader, so whatever. As y'all saw there, I was kind of sort of slowed down because I guess that was sort of both of our faults because the driver who was in the lead before when I was in second just broke way early, but also the ride all over that driver. But as I've said in many a race before, I'm much better applying than avoiding pressure, so that's what I'm trying to do, apply pressure into a mistake, but I wasn't expecting like an anti-mistake or whatever. Not too many drivers drive conservatively when someone's right up all on them, because generally they do end up getting wrecked when that happens. Most drivers, or at least when I see them, when I'm all up on them, they drive more aggressively and therefore more chance of a mistake. Sort of like the driver in front of me there. I mean, he's driving hard, he's carrying a lot of speed or whatever, but it took a wider line there because, well, I'm applying pressure. So, yeah, that original first place driver did something I wasn't exactly expecting, but, well, I think that was as much his fault as my fault, so I sort of slowed down, but I ain't gonna completely wait for someone who's as much their mistake as mine. So, whatever, 10 lap race, it's still early on, we both have chances to catch up. We both qualified first and second. And actually, this field in general wasn't that close beyond us two. Third ran like a 130.2, and I think it's actually fourth place in first place now, I think. Because it's why I was talking about what happened between me and the pole sitter. The driver who was third ended up getting in the lead from us two getting in a scuffle and then went off. So then that makes the fourth place driver in qualifying now first, and that makes me the second place driver back in second. But, well, original third and first should, as I said, have enough time to catch up. As far as I know, third place, it wasn't really caused by any driver, it was just a mistake on their part. But as of now, I guess I don't even really need to force fourth place into that much of a mistake because, well, I just had room there. Jiminy Cricket, that even got a generic car to get up there. The generic paint jobs are moving up the pack. I don't even think they qualified all that good. The generic car was like, what, 5th place for the first one? Jiminy Cricket, that's different. And also, this one does allow you to change cars. That's also different. So let's go to what's a better battle. This actually ain't even the greatest battle, but I guess it is slightly better just in the fact of it's kind of all in line, and in theory, the farther back you go, the more prone drivers are to mistakes, just because in theory, they're slower. In reality, not really, because as I said, the scuffle at the beginning, but I mean, we'll see. Different drivers are different at different times when they ain't the aliens, and this is, I think, the second highest split of the time period. This race was the Christmas Day race, that's why I'm in the Christmas colors, and I think I ran it at 7 p.m. Eastern, so that would have been the third round. The second round I actually watched live, sorta, kinda, and that was one with GTR in it, and ORMA, whatever, I don't know if you're supposed to pronounce that or say the letters. But ORMA, Snow, and those two are like always up in the main bits. And they are both way higher than me. Like, I'm not bad. I'm at my best S-Class just barely, but on average A-Class. They're always S-Class. Like, they possibly were like the first two out of maybe three Doodle Monopoly as well, who were S class, and they were both in the same race. But where they ran it at a different time, that makes actually sort of kinda the split that I'm in better suited, if you will, for drivers who are slower, because a lot of the fast drivers are already taken out of the equation. They've already raced. But I've noticed that someone who set a point thing at the same time I did, meaning we would have raced in the same hour, got more points than me. And I ain't going to give any spoilers yet, but, well, I'm going to have to work, so I ain't going to say how many points I get. But, well, I'll just say other drivers did get more points than me, but I ain't going to say if they were in this race or not, so I'll just keep that interesting. I'm okay here. This is one of my better tracks, but this is just in general one of the more toe-the-line tracks. Almost every turn here you have to pretty much get right up on the grass to be fast, and obviously if you get in the grass you ain't going to be as fast. So it's not. It's far from the most dangerous track. Nürburgring is, you wreck if you just barely get in the grass pretty much any turn. Here you can sort of kind of touch the grass and then you'll be alright. You might like lose some speed like I did there, but I didn't really wreck as much as I did just get slowed down. So this is sort of an intermediate track. I mean, if you mess up big time, it's going to be bad, but for the most part, it's not the worst. If you mess up there, it's pretty bad, but a lot of turns it's not nearly as bad. So, I'm pushing, I would say 95% right now. That's how I generally tend to do in races on tracks that I'm good at, which this is one of my better tracks. Is the only time I'll push 100% really is if someone's either right ahead of me, like literally enough where I can truly apply pressure. And even then, I ain't going to push too hard if I'm like in 4th or 5th or something and everybody's in a pack. But if I'm in 2nd, I'm way clear 3rd, which is kind of sort of what's about to happen here. Then I'll start pushing 100% so I can actually get by. There's no point in just staying behind. If you do seem to be faster, you might as well try to get by. So, well, with that said, well, that's pretty much happening now. I might as well go ahead and start pushing 100% so I can actually try to make a pass. Because catching a driver, passing a driver are two different things. And, well, even though this lead driver qualified in 4th, that lead driver's still pretty cotton-picking good. I think because the qualifying on the FIA races is ran with everybody on track together, maybe that driver just never got all that clean of a lap. Because that driver's pretty cotton-picking fast. I mean, I'm pulling up, maybe I gained half a second this lap. But that driver qualified with like a 130.4. I qualified with a 129.6. So that's almost a full second. I gained barely even a half second with draft. And I actually lost a little bit of time there. That's my worst section around this track. That little transition on that short chute between the right-hander and then that left-hander, that's probably where I'm worst at. Especially in this car, too. Because a lot of Group 4 cars, the braking zone is pretty much right at where the timing loop is. Like where you get your plus-minus. That's like exactly where you brake. But for whatever reason, even though this is a relatively light Group 4 car, you actually have to brake a little bit earlier than that point. Just like a touch. Like maybe a foot before that line, but still, it matters. If you brake right when it happens, you're generally overshoot it by a bit. That's how I do quite a bit, because I just sort of have it burned into memory, because I have more miles for Group 4 cars on the Viper than anything else. Just that's what you're supposed to do there. This car, in a lot of ways, handles a little bit better than the Viper, especially in the high-speed sections. But in that particular turn, I think the Viper just has better brakes. So, therefore, it helps it around that turn, because it is quite a bit of braking. You're going from like 110 or so to 75, and you kind of have to arc yourself into that turn. So with that said, that took almost a full lap to explain, and I'm already back to that third, so let's see what happens here, folks. Well, Jiminy Cricket, I actually took that turn better that time than the leader. So I guess I'll try to make a pass here. But... I made it stick. I'm surprised there. I figured where I'd have to go on the inside, I wouldn't get as much momentum off, but I actually have enough where I'm still on the inside here. I mean, that driver got a little bit more momentum than me, but not that much. And actually, that driver's racing clean, too. Everybody's raced clean this race. I've been arguably the dirtiest driver, and again, that was at the very beginning, and I didn't really know that was going to happen, because it was the very beginning, and I wasn't really aware of who's, like, what people's lines are and stuff when they're under pressure. Generally, in the situation I'm in here with a driver right on me, I generally drive about 95% again, because in a way, not driving to the fullest extent can actually cause second place to make a mistake, because they might try a pass that they can't really make. So then they just like go wide or something, trying to fit a car into a place they can't. If I were to drive 100%, then I'd be more prone to mistakes. I might be able to get away, but given that there's a draft in general when drivers are this close, probably not. So generally the best chance it seems like I have of getting away from drivers actually drive slightly slower, is then it makes them go have mistakes. But in this case, even though I ain't necessarily driving my hardest, it's still... Well, I guess I'm doing both. I was going to say it seems like I was slightly pulling away anyway, and then that driver still made a mistake. So, yay, two birds with one stone there. I didn't necessarily have to drive my hardest. I forced second place into a mistake, trying to catch back up to me, and I was still getting away anyway. So that gets for a good battle now for second. So let's watch that one, folks. Actually, that helps me a whole heck of a heap too, because in general, no matter how people drive, if somebody's really close to them, whether ahead or behind, they're going to be slightly slower no matter what the situation. I have a big enough lead now where I can run my own line and be fine. Second might be able to run their own line, and it probably, as the laps go on, will be more confident in doing so, because they'll know the third place driver's line's better, so they'll know when, like, where it or space out more and where it won't, like who's better where. But for now, that second place driver might be a bit pressured to the point of it can't run as fast. That's a not bad gap, but I mean the gap between third and second's quite a bit shorter than the gap between second and me and first. So, that's definitely a good thing for me. But, as I said, even though this ain't the most dangerous track in the world, it's still relatively dangerous. As I said before, there was a previous race time before this one. I think that was a 6 o'clock Eastern time slot, but with GTR and Snow in the race. Snow is arguably the best North American driver there is. I'd say it's between Snow and Doodle and ILF, but it seems like ILF doesn't race like as much as he used to or something. But Doodle wasn't actually in that race, so it didn't end up being all that big of a deal. But between GTR and Snow, where Snow is just overall better, Snow actually got a decent lead, and Snow even messed up with like a good gap, like 2.5 seconds, and wrecked to the point of GTR got by, and Snow couldn't even completely recover. Still got second, but GTR won on Snow's mistake. It wasn't that GTR was faster, it was the other driver making a mistake. So with all that said, hopefully I don't choke here, because I have about a 2.5 second lead. But if you spin out, you're going to lose all that, and at this point I would be in third, because second and third are pretty cotton picking close there. That's probably only about a second gap, or it's maybe about 2.5 seconds to me. But this is now the last lap, so I can go a little bit slower. I'm probably running about 85% now. I'm running enough where I get within about a foot of apex. That involves grass, but not much more. Because 2 turns left, they ain't going to realistically catch me unless I make a mistake. They'd probably cut that 2.5 seconds down to 2 seconds, but third ain't going to catch second, second ain't going to catch me. So it's looking like I am indeedy dandy going to win this race. That's pretty cotton picking cool. This is my first FIA Nations Cup win. And it when I'm A class, so I get a whole heck of a heap of points. As I said before, how many points? Well, surprisingly, even with I'm sort of in the tanking zone. Like I said, eventually I might be able to get to S class, which equals more points. But still, nonetheless, I got like 1,266, I think. So that put me in like sixth for the whole day. Out of everybody in North America, I was sixth. Granted, that's just one day in a mini day thing, but still, that's pretty cotton picking cool right yonder. Being way into the top 10 on Christmas Day, when in theory everybody will have a chance to play at some point because everybody's off, and I still end up getting sixth. Can't really complain too much about that. There's a clean race throughout. There's some iffy bits, but I don't really think it was dirty as much as its mistakes. So, well, I got the win. There's clean driving by all, really, throughout. There were some supplemental positions that made it interesting. And, well, there might be more of this in the future. Because this is actually a pretty good round of racing. Like, this FIA Nations Cup has some tracks that I like, so I might very well be doing more of this. And if I am, and it's an interesting race, I will indeed be specialtating it. There probably won't be a rapid racer rundown unless it's actually fun and interesting, because there's no need to force it. But that's sort of kind of forced this to go longer than it needed to, so let's get the forced ending because I always do it. But actually, it ain't that forced, because this was a pretty good race. Without being forced, it just was, and that's most definitely worth a yeehaw.